So anyone who's long MSTR, MSTY, MSTP, MSTE, or some other variant version of this stock, you'll have noticed for some time that in the past year it's
non-stop bloodshed and war.
And for something you're going long, you typically don't want this non-stop bloodshed. If you're seeing this pullback opportunity as an incredible buying opportunity, by all means do what you want with your money. This is not financial advice, but this will be my take on this high-flying stock from 2024 that has been getting absolutely crushed back to reality. To start with, I'll save my more pointed comments on crypto for another video, but let's assume my stance today is that I see no major flaws with the asset, it's valued at a fair market price, and it's shed its scammy vibes, and the only reason that there exists a credit card wanting to give you cash back in the form of a Bitcoin is because they genuinely want to make you rich, just like all good loan businesses do. I plan to cover 3 topics: a little bit of a history on MSTR, a lesson on arbitrage, and going over what this incredible strategy is and what the future could look like. I'll let the CEO, MichaelSaylor, in his own words, explain what's happened over the past 2 decades to his company.
MichaelSaylor, the CEO, is slaved for a decade, working infinitely hard, working his 2,000 employees infinitely hard to compete against Microsoft and Magnificent Seven and to put growth back into this public company called MSTR. The company is a perfectly fine company, but a company growing 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% a year is uninteresting to every professional investor in the capital markets. And we've tried everything under the sun, and we cannot break free. And our employees are paid in stock options, and the stock's not going anywhere.
And he's right, the stock wasn't going anywhere. And they were competing head-to-head with Microsoft. However, one of these got the name recognition when it comes to business intelligence, and it wasn't MicroStrategy, unfortunately. Along with that, though, he did omit one little bit of detail, which is kind of vital as to another reason as to why the stock has been in a coma for the past 2 decades. As a publicly traded company, there's one sin that you can never do. You can break all the antitrust laws anywhere in the world. That's okay. You can reveal user data through leaks or just intentionally. That's a big who cares. You can even steal from grandma. She doesn't need that money. Victimless crime. However, what you can't do is lie on your report card. And in the year 2000, they were found having cooked their books, which is the greatest sin that you can commit. Because once investors can't trust the numbers that you're publishing, they no longer can trust investing in your company. The stock suffered a 62% drop, and then eventually up to a 99% drop. And it's been stuck there for the past 2 decades until he changed his strategy, as it were, and found new investors that were willing to take a risk on him.
The company is a perfectly fine company, but a company growing 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% a year is uninteresting to every professional investor in the capital markets. And we've tried everything under the sun, and we cannot break free. And our employees are paid in stock options, and the stock's not going anywhere.
For this next section, I'm going to need to describe arbitrage. And I believe we have a clip of MichaelSaylor describing arbitrage himself.
Describe fluid flow. Watch, water, and it's spinning like this going down a drain. How do you describe fluid flow? Well, the answer is every component of the water has a different velocity. It's a different vector, right? They're all moving and it's dynamic. And now blow some bubbles in it. Describe that with words.
Sorry about that. I must have gotten my clips confused. Well, I guess in their company, they refer to it as intelligent leverage. But I digress. We'll come back to that one later. So let's enter the fantasy world.
The fantasy world, the magic world, the whatever world.
And we'll say in this world, a gray fish is worth 1 gold coin. A goldfish is worth 5 gold coins. And in this fantasy world, there exists a special merchant. We'll call her Wendy. And Wendy can transform 3 gray fish into 1 goldfish. And Wendy is willing to do this for you for free as long as you're her friend. So for the clever cats out there, I'm sure you can already see the exploit that can be achieved. Because of this price discrepancy, 2 things are going to occur. either all the gray fish will be purchased out of the market and converted into goldfish, or the price of goldfish needs to drop by 2 gold coins. This price discrepancy is our arbitrage. Now returning to the real world, the number that interests us the most when it comes to this company that's solely focused on purchasing Bitcoin is this NAV premium. And as you'll see, throughout 2024, it was floating between 2 to 3 for most of the year. Now, to tie this back to our fish example, so we'll assume a NAV premium of 3 just to make the example that much clearer. So consider that you want to buy $1 of Bitcoin. Well, you could go purchase it yourself for $1. Or, if you would rather have MSTR purchase that $1 for you, well then you've got to pay them $3. In this scenario, our merchant has the wonderful ability of issuing more shares, which will bring this imbalance more into alignment. Or, because it's the open market, other cats out there can short this stock, and that'll also bring this into alignment. In my former life, I dealt with a lot of data. And something you learn about dealing with a lot of data, and just like this data company should know, is that there's a lot of numbers out there that mean relatively nothing. Here's one example of something they continuously mention, which, in my opinion, is kind of worthless.
We're consistently accumulating more Bitcoin per share each quarter, the highest of any Bitcoin Treasury company, creating direct and measurable value for our shareholders.
While it is true that they're taking out more debt and issuing more shares to increase their mountain of Bitcoin, if it was truly creating immeasurable value, the stock wouldn't have dropped 50%. Alright, now it's time to talk strategy.
Craft flies over their city and drops a bomb on their head. They'll die.
Oh, no, not that strategy.
We simply buy Bitcoin, we hold it forever.
And just so you don't forget where you are in the whole capital structure, you as a shareholder are right here at the top. Oh wait, no. You're all the way down here, actually. Bitcoin is actually more important than you are, so make sure you don't forget that. Well, we can look to their purchase history maybe and see that they're extremely more efficient in their purchasing spots of this Bitcoin asset than everybody else out there. When we look at the graph, though, it honestly just looks like they're buying every week or at least every other week. And I mean, this is just dollar cost averaging. You don't need somebody to do this for you. You can just do this yourself. Well, then maybe because MichaelSaylor is such a visionary, he can explain to us this 30% number that he's always touting about, that Bitcoin's going to go up every year.
I studied very hard math. I mean, the math you use to design a jet engine, the math you use to design, anything that goes supersonic through the air, the math is complicated. You need vector calculus. You need nonlinear dynamic systems of equations. You need field theory. Give me the number. There's no number.
From what I was able to find is most people refer to this number of compound annual growth rate. And I'll put the formula on the screen, but we'll go into my little worksheet to explain it further. In the table I've got up on the screen, we have Bitcoin for the past 15 years and the opening price that it had each one of those years. And how we're going to use this compound annual growth rate formula is we'll pick that end price, we'll pick a start price a couple years back, and just make sure we've got the correct number of years in this yellow one. As you can see, going from 2024 all the way back to 2017, we come out with a 60% in our compound annual growth rate. And that's why I believe he's saying conservatively, he's just cutting that number in half to get to his 30% number. However, the issue with this formula is that it's kind of on vibes in a sense, because if you go back an additional year, or if you change the scope and go one less year back, you'll get kind of vastly different numbers. Now we're going to update our end year price and our start year price. So we'll go 2025, and then we'll also go 2018. And you'll see that our compound annual growth rate has updated now to 26.6%. So now will MichaelSaylor go and conservatively cut it in half again and say, hey, Bitcoin is going to grow 18% every year for the next 30 years. And if so, I wonder what that's going to do for shareholder confidence. Definitely after the miserable fourth quarter that Bitcoin and MSTR had, I'm looking at them for a bounce starting into this year. Or maybe another leg lower. However, as a long-term investor, I would be very fearful of MSTR. Maybe his bet plays out, and maybe he'll be laughing at us all when he wins. However, looking at the charts and being like, hey, after every 4 green numbers, there's 1 red number, but then you're guaranteed more green numbers after that, just feels like a roulette bet. It doesn't seem to account for that what if, in the rare case, that 2 red years happen on Bitcoin? Can MSTR truly survive that? They've already proven that they're willing to sacrifice the bottom layer of the pyramid, which is the shareholders. And if they were forced into a position where they could have to sell some of that Bitcoin to support even further up the pyramid, this could spiral out of control quickly. And it's going to be interesting to watch.
It's nonstop bloodshed and war.
But I'm no engineer, so what do I really know? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching until the end.
You got to come back to being an engineer.
I'm a computer engineer.
Financial engineering.
I'm a fucking computer engineer. I'm a goddamn engineer.
Financial engineering.
I'm just an engineer.
It's like an engine. Half liberal artist, half engineer.
What do you think is the best way to 100x your money? Can you still do it with Bitcoin, and what type of strategies can be deployed?
I think the best way to get superior returns, 100x type returns, you're going to buy a Ferrari, splurge on sports cars, and don't pay off your mortgages. Don't get debt free.
I don't know. I never counted. I am not really a math guy, you know?
Sets off a nuclear warhead. They'll die.